So welcome back to my channel, and welcome to this month's horror subgenre series reading vlog. So as you guys can tell, we're doing folk horror. As always, I like to start off these videos with us learning a little bit more about the subgenre and some of the elements and themes. So let's do that really quickly. Folk horror is a subgenre of horror which uses elements of folklore to unsettle the reader. Most often, folk horror includes themes of paganism or other religions, ritualistic sacrifices, and cults. Folk horror often focuses on the darker aspects of nature, leading to many of these stories being set in isolated rural areas. At times, folk horror can include the presence of a creature or some form of ancient evil. Folk horror usually focuses on the people, their actions, and group dynamics of those involved in these situations. Oftentimes, you will see a storyline in which outsiders stumble upon something that they don't understand. Folk horror found its way to popularity in the late 60s and 70s, though there has recently been a resurgence in popularity and newfound love for the genre. So now that we hopefully know a little bit more about folk horror, let's get into the TBR. I have 5 books that I will be reading for this video. 2 of them are off of my physical TBR, which is great. I love when I can fit my own TBR books into this series or just reading vlogs in general. So up first we have Pine by Francine Toon. I didn't know this was folk horror. Like, it definitely gives folk horror vibes, but I've heard, like, it says right on top that it's a literary gothic thriller, so I don't know. I'm hoping this recommendation comes true and there's actually folk horror elements in here, but this is on my 2024 TBR, so I definitely need to read this one. I'm very excited for that. And then, of course, we can't have a folk horror video without reading from Adam Neville, the king of folk horror. Yes, I've already read The Ritual, so I have this one on my TBR, The Reddening. I thrifted this, actually, and I was very excited about it. I don't know anything about the plot. Maybe I'll just go in blind, but that's the next one. Then we have Starve Acre by Andrew Michael Hurley. This one has been on my TBR for a while, and I've heard a lot of really good things, so I'm excited for that. Then we have Ghost Wall by Sarah Moss, which is not a book that I had previously heard of, but now that I chose it to read for this video, I feel like I'm seeing this book everywhere. It's kind of funny how that happens, but she's a little shorty, so hopefully that means we'll be able to get it done pretty quickly. And then I can't find my Kindle, but the other book that I will be reading is Harvest Home by Thomas Tryon. I think that's how you pronounce his name. This is another one that's kind of been on my radar because it is like more of a classic within the genre, and I've heard a lot of good things. So that is our 5-book TBR for this video. So if you're interested in hearing my thoughts on any of these and on folk horror in general, go ahead and keep watching. I started filming and then the cats just started fighting over in the corner. Anyways, I'm currently reading Starve Acre. I am about 120 pages in. I just got to part 2. I'm planning to finish this tonight, so I just wanted to sit down and give you guys an update on my thoughts on this one because I haven't talked about it yet. So far, what we have is really this story of grief. We have Richard and Juliet. Okay, yes, that's their names. And they had a son named Ewan. Ewan died at the age of 5, and we haven't quite gotten to the part where we learn about how he died or the circumstances surrounding his death, and how it all happened. But we have a present day timeline where we are following, obviously, the 2 parents dealing with their grief in different ways. Juliet truly believes that Ewan is still in their home or on their property. The place that they live in is called Starve Acre, and that was Richard's family's estate. So it's this very large home, but it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. Like, they're really having that like country life. And Juliet believes that Ewan is still there. So she seeks the help of some people to try to contact him in a way And then we also have Richard dealing with his grief separately, and he really is just kind of devoting himself to different tasks and really trying to distract himself. He does a lot of digging on the property. And I guess it says that he is digging in search of a legendary oak tree, but he has found a lot of strange things in his digging, but that's really what he's devoted to in order to distract himself. So obviously there's a lot of sadness so far, but we also get these flashbacks to a past timeline when Ewan was alive, and like I said, I think we're working up to uncovering the mystery of his death and how that happened. But so far we are just seeing the slow progression of different behaviors that Ewan is exhibiting, things that are sort of out of his character, but he's also a growing boy, so like who knows like if it's out of character or if he's just like growing more into his own character. But he's been acting out in a few different ways in this past timeline, and like I said, I think it's all going to build up to this reveal of what actually happened. There are obviously some very strange things happening on this property. I don't want to give too much away. I'm really enjoying it so far. I will say the writing is stunning. Like, it's so beautiful. There are so many good quotes so far that I would totally highlight if I owned this copy, but this is a library copy, so we're not going to do that. And I really like the way that the story is being told and the way that things are unfolding. I feel like there's just this perfect like amount of intrigue and mystery and strangeness happening, and I'm really excited to see where it goes, because I've heard like for a lot of people the very end of this book is what makes it or breaks it. Like, it's, I don't know, oh, the cats are fighting again. I'm excited, but I'm a little bit nervous to finish this. But I've only got like 80 pages left because this copy is just about 200 pages. So like I said, I'm going to finish it tonight. And also, soon to be a major motion picture, so maybe I'll have to watch the movie in the future. But I will come back once I finish this. Really liking it so far, so that's a good sign. And I'm excited because I just got to part 2, so who knows what part 2 is going to bring to the story. It's time for some updates. I have finished Star of Acre, and I really enjoyed this one. I have learned about myself that I really love horror that involves grief, and I also really like when that grief is around the loss of a child, which is obviously a very, very heavy theme within this book. It's really the whole basis of the story is just grief, motherhood, parenthood really in general, but specifically motherhood. Also just like the family tension, the tension within this marriage, and just the relationship between these two people. And I really liked it. It's definitely like slow building, like things unfold very slowly, and it takes a little while for it to get dark, but once it does, like, it's really, really good. I really like the ending of this as well, and I'm kind of like, I don't know, because I see so many people, and I even mentioned this in my last update, that like some people hate the ending, and the ending is what like ruins the experience for them. And for me, I just don't understand that, because like I liked the ending. I think it was good, and the only thing I would say shocked me about the ending was that I expected the way that it ended. I expected that thing to happen sooner, so I was shocked that that's how it ended, but I wasn't shocked that it happened in general, if that makes sense. Honestly though, I don't have a lot to say. I think this definitely fits really well into the folk horror genre, and I think it's a really good like slow burn, very unsettling folk horror that does get dark in the end, and I would definitely recommend it. I see why it's very, very well loved, but that's all I really have to say about it. So after that one, I started Harvest Home. I'm having a very different experience with this one. I am 160 pages in, which is 34%, and I'm so bored. I feel like nothing's going on, and I'm sticking it out because people say that it's like very, very slow burn until about 50% of the way through, and then things like the pace gets better and things escalate a lot quicker. So I'm really holding out for that 50% mark so that I can see where things go, because I am interested and like what's going to happen, and the events that are going to take place in the last half of this book, especially hearing that this, I guess, is like the inspiration or one of the big inspirations for Children of the Corn, which is great. So I am interested in seeing where this goes, but right now I'm like, I feel like we're getting so much information that is not necessary and nothing is really going on, and I'm just like, I find myself zoning out when I'm reading it because I'm like why, like I just feel like there's so much that's not necessary to the plot. And this is not a short book. This is 460 pages. And I feel like we could have cut that down. Maybe cut down like 100 pages. You know? I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Because I do see a lot of people giving this book 5 stars. And I'm like, okay, so something really great has to happen in the second half to make this be such a like widely loved book. But we have Ned and Beth, I think. We're gonna go with that. They have a daughter named Kate. She is a teenager and she deals with asthma, so she has really, really bad asthma attacks. And previously they lived in New York and they didn't live in a very good part, and they were just kind of like very scared and nervous and anxious of all of the crime and different things that occur there. Also with their daughter's health, they decided that they wanted a change and they wanted to kind of take up, kind of similar to Starve Acre, where it's like this family, they want to go back to living off the land, like living in the country, that sort of vibe. So that's what this couple has decided to do in Harvest Home. This book was written in 1973, I think it was published. So that's kind of the vibe of this story. It takes place in 1972. This couple has found this very, very small town, and they have found a house that they just absolutely fell in love with, had to have it. Things worked out that they were able to purchase it. They were able to do some necessary repairs, and now they are living there. And they have befriended this woman called the Widow's Fortune, which is like the closest thing to a town doctor that they have, because they're a very isolated community and they're like a farming community. Their whole thing is corn. That is the big crop that they have. The community thrives on the corn. So the Widow's Fortune is like the closest thing to the doctor that they have, and she has all of these like medicinal like herb treatments, and she was able to help their daughter with her asthma and a lot of different things. She's got a lot of different stories. There are a lot of legends and superstitions around this town and with the people within this town. There's also like the other side of the town where these people are tobacco farmers and they make moonshine, and they're kind of like the outcasts, sort of, where it's like nobody goes into the woods, like nobody crosses over into their area because like these people are not to be fucked with, they don't want to be bothered. So there's just a lot of lore and a lot of different stories happening within this community, and that's really all we've gotten so far in the book is these people interacting. Obviously our main characters adapting to this new life and getting to know these people and learning more about the country life and about farming and really all of that. So it's really focusing, as we saw when we learned about folk horror, a lot of it has to deal with the people in these situations and how they all react to the situations and just the inner group dynamics. And this book definitely has a lot of that element in it. There's just a lot of conversation and a lot of information that we have learned so far, but once again I feel like not really a whole lot has happened. So that's where I'm at with Harvest Home. Really anxious to get halfway through this book so that I can see if something picks up, because I need to get to the horror and I have high hopes. I feel like once we get there, like it'll be great because I've heard only great things, but I just wish that we were quicker to get to that point. Hi, I'm gonna talk to you guys for a little bit. I also have a library haul for y'all, so that's exciting. Anyways, I just wanted to take a moment to talk about this. I don't know why, but I feel like August has been such a weird month for me. I feel like I've been in a weird like just mood, life mood, but also in a weird like reading mood, and I'm reading so much slower than I normally do. But I want to be clear, like, first of all, the amount of books that you read in a month literally does not matter. Like, if you read one book per month, you're a reader, and don't let anybody tell you anything different. But for me, like, I think this month I've read 11 books, which once again definitely is not a bad number at all. But for me, by this time in the month, I've usually read like 18, 19, 20 books. That's just what I'm used to. So it's so strange for me when I'm reading a book that I would normally finish in one day or a day and a half, and it takes me 3 or 4 days to read it. And that's what this entire month has been, and it's so weird. Today is Monday, which is the day that I originally planned for this reading vlog to go up, and I knew that wasn't gonna happen. I was like, I'm gonna be a little bit behind, but that's fine, because I'm not gonna force myself to read if I don't feel like it, you know? But I've only read one book for this video so far, and I literally haven't read, I think maybe I've read a few more pages or like another chapter of Harvest Home since the last time I talked to you guys, and that was 2 days ago. So it's about 2 p.m. I've done everything for the day. I've done my normal Monday chores, Monday cleaning. I've gone to the library. Like I said, I have a little library haul I'm gonna give you guys. I've edited this video a little bit. Now for the entire rest of the evening, I just want to read. So my very ambitious goal is to finish Harvest Home, and then to also start and finish Ghost Wall. I don't know if that's gonna happen. Like I said, that's like my ideal perfect world evening, is finishing these 2 books. But I think if I can read this one and then get at least like 75% of the way through Harvest Home, I will be happy with that. So that's my plans. Before I sit down and I start reading, let me tell you guys what I got from the library, because I had some new releases come in. First of all, I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones, which I'm literally so excited for. I hope it's great. I hope it's amazing. I have been dying. I don't think I've read any Stephen Graham Jones this year, and I've just been like itching to pick up one of his books. So this came at the perfect time. Thank you so much. I also got another new horror release called The Unmothers. This is by Leslie J. Anderson. I don't actually... Oh, would you look at that? It says folk horror mystery. A journalist goes to a small town and unravels a dark secret that the women have been keeping for generations. Okay, slay. I did not realize this was folk horror. I'm sure I did at some point when I added it to my TBR, but I didn't realize since adding it and then to now having it in my hand. So definitely excited for that one. And then I also got The Day Tripper by James Goodhand. This came out earlier this year, and I've literally had this book on hold at the library, but then I keep suspending it because I'm like, I don't want to read it now. I don't want to read it now. I don't want to read it now. So I decided enough of that. I'm just gonna let the hold come in, because I'm sure the library is probably like, what is this girl doing? I don't remember what this is. It plays with time. The right guy, the right place, the wrong time. So I don't think this is a romance. Maybe, I think it's just like a fiction that plays with time. Maybe it's about a friendship or a relationship between these 2 people, but I don't think it's necessarily a romance. I don't know, but I have that one. These 3 I'll probably read pretty soon. I want to read them in the first week of September and fit them into a vlog. So look out for that. Let me know if you guys have read any of these. I'm literally so excited to pick this up. I know I said that already. Anyways, that was my brief little intermission over. I'm gonna get to relaxing and reading now. I know this is kind of a weird angle, but I'm so comfy right now. First of all, I just want to take a moment because I have like the perfect cozy vibes. Like I have the mood lighting, I have my candles going, I have my fall pumpkin scented wax melt going. It's like starting to storm outside. It's thundering. It's about to pour rain any minute. I have my folk horror playlist made by Spotify playing, and it's just like perfect vibe. But I just got to part 3 in Harvest Home. I forgot what this book was called. So I have reached my goal, not my goal, but I've reached the 50% point. So things are going to start picking up. But I just want to take a moment because one thing I will definitely say about this book is that it is very, very well written. So I want to share some quotes that I really like from this so far. So this paragraph, he's describing the day. He says, Sunday afternoon, New England, summer's end. A dreaming landscape, faultless sky, dazzling clouds, bursting sunlight, river calm, seductive in its peaceful turnings, the splash of water, creak of oarlocks, birds singing along the shore, the play of light and shadow among the trees, a little music, your wife whom you love, what might be called the ingredients for a perfect day. And I just really like that. Like, there's definitely the two main characters have a very strong relationship, like our husband and wife, and it's very, very obvious within their writing and within their interactions with each other, which I really like. Another example of that, it says, I reached for Beth's hand lying on the hymnal in her lap. She smiled at me under her lashes and gave her silent I love you. On this glorious Sunday in Cornwall Coombe, where was there to be found a luckier man than I? Which, like, that is so sweet. Another example of their relationship coming through really strong. I felt I had never loved Beth more than I did at this moment, had never felt so close, so near to her, not merely touching her hand, but completely and utterly joined to her. How extraordinary she was, my wife. How extraordinary her being. I had a supremely clear sense of who I was, who she was, who we were together. There are also a lot of great quotes that really bring in, like, that folk horror element and the dark nature element and really makes you feel like the atmosphere of this rural area that they're in. For example, he found something in the woods and he says, there is always something about the slow workings of nature upon death's victim as it eats away the mortal flesh and reveals the armature beneath that is shocking to the living man, knowing that he too must at some time fall similar prey. I just really, really enjoy that quote. Here's another one. I'll just give you guys one more because I don't want to sit here and just talk about quotes. I was feeling a rush of intensity I did not understand, but did not care to. To have it was enough. I was aware. I was at one with my surroundings, with sky and earth and light and sound, with trees, flowers, corn, with all of nature. Then it began, the rest of it. Which is kind of like, out of context, I feel like these quotes don't make a lot of sense, but I just really enjoy the writing, like the actual quality of the writing itself, aside from like the story, and it's still very slow moving, but I am at that 50% mark, so hopefully things are going to start picking up. Hello, it's the next day. I don't know if this is the greatest angle, but before I go shower, I wanted to give you guys an update because I did not complete my goal of getting at least 75% of the way through this yesterday, but I got to like 68%, and then I've been reading today and I am now 84% of the way through. I'm on page 382, so I've officially got less than 100 pages. Let's see. It wasn't really until like 75% of the way through this book that things actually started to get interesting or started to pick up. Like I said, I've seen a lot of people say the second half picks up, so I was really hoping after the 50% mark that it would just start escalating very quickly, and that did not happen until like a little bit over 70% of the way through. But now it's more interesting. It's holding my attention a little bit more, and I am interested in what's going on, and I like what's happening in the way that things are unfolding, but I just like, oh my god, it was such a slog to get here because like everything was moving so slowly. I saw a Goodreads review that said like if this book moved any slower, I would have traveled back in time, and like I feel that. That's how it feels. because I feel like nothing really happened for so long. And I get that that's kind of the point, to like build the atmosphere and the setting of this small town where things like not a lot happens all the time and it's just kind of a laid back life. And I get that, but do we really need like a day to day, like, I just totally lost where I was going with that thought, but like, you guys get what I mean. Honestly, I feel like if I wasn't reading this for this video, I might have DNF'd it early, but I do want to keep reading it. I've felt that way, like, even though I haven't been enjoying it, like, I know I want to keep reading it because it's one that I've wanted to read even before filming this video, and I do want to see how things turn out. But oh my gosh, I don't see myself rating it anything more than 3 stars because of just the experience that I've had with it so far, regardless of where it goes in the last like 20%. Even if it does get like super good, I just can't justify rating it higher than a 3 star when my experience with it has really not been the greatest. So like I said, I'm gonna take a shower. I will finish this later tonight, and then I will give you guys my final update once we get through with it. And I am so ready for that moment where I can put this down and complete it, mark it as read on Goodreads, because I'm kind of over it. First of all, let me preface this by saying that it's currently like sort of storming. It's been pouring rain, it's been thundering, so if you hear background noises, I do apologize. But I finished Harvest Home last night. I'm not really going to say too much that I haven't already said because I don't really have a lot to add on. I will say though, I really liked the way the end went. Like once the horror picked up and the folk horror elements really came in very strong, I like where it went. And I love the way, like the actual very ending of the story and what happens with our main character. Like I love the way that it ended and the way things escalate in like the last 30-25%. It was fantastic. It was so good. And that's why it sucks that I didn't enjoy the rest of it, because I just feel like, once again, I can't give it a rating higher than 3 stars because even though I really did love the end of it, it took me a long time to get to the point where I actually enjoyed it. So, unfortunately, 3 stars for Harvest Home, but it is, like, it's a very solid, good, great, classic example of a folk horror, and I'm glad that I read it. I would still recommend it because, I don't know, I feel like I just wasn't into the story. Sometimes I can be a really big fan of very slow burn stories like that, but this one just like wasn't gripping me. So I would say give it a try and see if the atmosphere and the characters and the story itself really grips you and holds your attention, and then you could probably enjoy it from there. But if not, then you'll probably just be like me, where it'll take you like 75% of the book to actually like it. I'm halfway through Ghost Wall now, and honestly I don't really have a lot to say about it just yet. But I figured I would give you guys like a brief little update, a brief little synopsis explanation of what this book is. Our main character is a young girl named Sylvie, and her father is very overbearing and very like stuck in the old ways as far as his mindset and the way that he views things. But he has taken Sylvie and his wife to, where even are they? I don't know. Okay, the north of England, according to the synopsis. And there is this class of students and a professor there that are, like, for 2 weeks, they're kind of doing this, like, project where they, like, have to live with the tools of the Iron Age. So they're living, like, off the land. They have to, like, hunt and forage and, like, sleep out in nature and all of that stuff. So there's like a class of students there doing this, but then Sylvie is there because her father is like the type of person that like wants her to have this knowledge, like doesn't want her to be super reliant on like modern things. And like I said, he's just very stuck in the old ways, but he's very overbearing and very abusive. very clearly physically abusive and emotionally abusive to Sylvie and also to the mother as well. But the mother, I feel like, because she's dealt with it so much longer, she now just kind of stays in her place and is just like trying to keep the peace and trying to tell Sylvie, like, just stop aggravating him, stop doing this. So she's like kind of complicit in the abuse, but she's also a victim herself. So that's kind of the dynamic that we have. So Sylvie obviously has a very how do I explain it? Non-traditional, like a not normal home life. And she hasn't been exposed to a lot of things. So now that she is with these students and there are young boys around and people of her own age that live in pretty much an entirely different world to how she is raised, she's being exposed to all of this other stuff, and just their situations are very, very different. But that's kind of making her father like come down on her a lot more. There's a line here that I'm trying to find. Oh, right here. They're talking about sleeping arrangements and the boys in the class, and she's like, why can't I sleep with them so that you and mom can have like your own place and have your own privacy? And he says, don't be daft. Of course you can't sleep with the lads. Shame on you. Anyway, privacy is a fancy modern idea, exactly what we're getting away from. Everyone trying to hide away and do what they want. You'll be joining in with the rest of us. I did not know what my father thought I might want to do, but he devoted considerable attention to making sure I couldn't do it. And I feel like the way that that's worded makes so much sense and like really explains like how like harmful this, what is the word, I guess, style of parenting is. Like, you know, like he very clearly has this idea in his head of like modern women being like promiscuous and sleeping around and sinning basically, and he is telling Sylvie like, I know what you think you're gonna do with these guys, but she purely is still innocent, and because of she's lived such a sheltered life, like she literally is like, I don't know what you're talking about, like. And I feel like that just paints like it's a really good description of how harmful that way of thinking and that way of teaching is to younger generations, because they are taught before they even know what the wrong thing is, they are taught that they are doing something wrong. I feel like sometimes I think about books, like I think about what I'm gonna say when I sit down and I start filming, and it sounds so nice and eloquent inside of my head, and then I sit down and I start talking and like all thought leaves my brain. Anyways, so that's where we're at this story right now. She's just being exposed to this whole different like way of living, in terms of like meeting these students who do live in the modern world and who live a normal life. So she is forming friendships with these people and just discovering a lot of things about herself and about the world. But in the synopsis, it says, the ancients built ghost walls to ward off enemy invaders, rude barricades of stakes topped with ancestral skulls. When the group builds one of their own, they find a spiritual connection to the past. What comes next? How far will they go to conjure this elusive history? And that has me very curious, like what exactly does that mean? A spiritual connection to the past. And I'm very curious to see where this goes. I just think right now is very interesting dynamics of this family, and I'm very excited to see where Sylvie's journey leads her. I'm about to finish this. I'm going to sit down and read the second half, and I'm excited to see where it goes. I do like the writing as well. It's kind of like non-traditional, like there's no quotation marks or anything, just all of the dialogue is written into the paragraphs, which at times is a little bit confusing because I'm like, is this actually something that's being spoken, or is this like a inner monologue thought? But generally it's pretty easy to grasp, and I really like there's a very lyrical quality to it, which I'm enjoying. I've now finished the book, and I have to say that I really, really enjoyed this one, and I'm very, very happy because, like I mentioned, I had never heard of this book before it coming up as a recommendation for folk horror, so I'm really, really glad that I got to read it. I feel like this was just an excellent little novella and a really good example of folk horror itself. There is rituals in here. Obviously, there is the inclusion of nature. There's a lot of history and learning from the past in here. We are following this family. It is about the family relationships. It is about the trauma and the secrets that are held within this family. And I think the way everything tied together was done really, really well. Like I said, there is a lot of talk of history, but also kind of an examination of the way certain viewpoints from the past are still represented like in modern times, or some people still kind of act the same way. There was a lot of parallels within that, which I really, really liked. It also, I feel like towards the end was so like filling me with dread, like making me so anxious with anticipation. Not anticipation, I don't think that's the right word, but just very like anxiety filled for what was going to happen. It's almost like not a full descent into madness, but it's culty in the way that if you examine cults a lot, hang on, I was reminded of a lot of points and different things that were talked about in this book, which is a fantastic nonfiction if you've never read it, with a gorgeous cover. But the author in here talks a lot about the language that cults use and the way that they speak to other people and draw people in, so that oftentimes you see these people fall victim to these cults. I mean, think of like Jonestown. So many people died, and it's like, how did all of these people get involved with this and not realize that something was amiss? And I feel like this book does a really, really good example of showing that, of all of these people that are involved in something very, very dark, and it just kind of, it's like how like these people are in this, but they don't realize it until things are too far gone. There's obviously a lot of commentary, like we get domestic abuse, physical abuse, like a daughter and a father relationship that is the primary focus of this book. So we get to see a lot of like feminist undertones as well in the way that women are treated, how they were treated back in the Iron Age, as these people are kind of living in that, but also in modern times as well. There is some commentary about like boundaries and not quite bodily autonomy. I mean, a little bit of that as well, but also just like crossing somebody's boundaries. And I just think it was very fascinating on a psychological level, as we see once again these people like falling into really this like cultish demonstration and being manipulated. There's this abuse of power, this abuse of authority in there, and I think that the way it all came together was really, really great, and it was nothing like what I expected it to be from the beginning, but I really, really enjoyed it. I don't think I would give it a full 5-star, but I think maybe 4.5 or 4 stars. I'll have to think and let the rating sit in, but I really, really enjoyed this, and I would definitely recommend if you like folk horror and things that have commentary. Plus, it's a really short read. Just be warned, like, obviously they're killing animals in here. They have to hunt for their food, and once again, it does talk about abuse. So, you know, tread wisely. So I'm glad this turned out to be a good one for me. Let's move on to book number 4 now. I started The Reddening by Adam Neville today, and I am 140 pages in, my little makeshift bookmark, because I didn't have one at work. Okay, let me think, because I didn't think about what I was going to say about this. Let's start by explaining the premise. We have 2 different characters that we're following. We have Kat, which is short for Katrine, and she is like a journalist. That's it. She's a journalist. And then we have Helene, who her brother commits suicide a few years ago, and she has just found in his belongings these audio recordings from this specific area, and what picks up on the audio recordings are these very, very strange like sounds of creatures. And so she is very curious about this. She wants to travel to that area because that's where her brother was, and then like 2 weeks later he killed himself. Hello? The lights are flickering. Anyways, so around that same area, there was a discovery of this cave that had a bunch of bones in it. So a lot of archaeologists were sent there to dig up these bones and excavate everything. And then they have like a kind of a museum, like where people can go and see this and learn about like the people that were there through their findings. So that's kind of where Katrine comes in, because she is like writing about the findings and speaking with different people, and she's learned some very, very interesting things. For example, a lot of the archaeologists, because they were in there for months working to get these artifacts out, some of them report hearing very strange noises, very similar descriptions to what is on the audio recordings that Helene has. And then just a lot of them are mentally not right after coming out of that. So with all of that, we have this kind of rumor or story of these like red people, or the red folk. So there are certain people in the area that have experienced and seen different things, and it's basically like a tribe or like a group of these red people, well, people that are like stained red, like they clearly like dyed themselves somehow, and they have been committing some very horrific, brutal acts. First of all, the like first chapter opens up with this couple that is camping in this area, and they get swarmed by these people, and they basically get like killed with these rocks, which was fantastic. A fantastic opening. Can we just say that? Like a very, very strong opening. So at the point that I'm at in the story, Helene and Kat have now met up, and they've kind of shared their different discoveries with each other, and they are both really wanting to look into this and learn more about this. So we're learning a lot about the history of the area and different like legends and myths surrounding these people and the caves, and just the general surrounding area where everything's taking place. So that's pretty much it so far. I am enjoying it. Honestly, I don't really have a lot to say about it, because I feel like we've just barely scratched the surface of everything we're going to get into with this book and with this story as it unfolds. And I'm really, really curious to see where it goes. Once again, I love Adam Neville. He is fantastic at writing folk horror, and he's fantastic at writing just creepy and gory things. And I'm really, really excited for the action and everything to pick up, because once again, we're just kind of learning more about the backstory of the characters. The characters are given a lot of depth, and they are very well fleshed out, which I do appreciate, because it makes you feel connected to them. But then I'm so excited to learn more about the red folk and what's going on there. So I'm gonna keep reading this for tonight. I will let you guys know when I have another update. I would just like to say that I just sat here for like 10 minutes talking about this book, and then I just realized that I never hit record. So let's try that again. I can't believe myself. Anyways, I'm still reading The Reddening. I switched over to the audiobook for a little bit because I feel like when I was physically reading this, it was very difficult for me to focus. I'm not sure if it's the book's fault or if it's my own fault, but I found myself like kind of zoning out, having to go back and reread sentences and paragraphs and whole pages at points. So I picked up the audiobook, and I was just listening to the audiobook and relaxing and doing a little bit of coloring, which is very fun. It's kind of like one of the new things that I've discovered I enjoy doing while listening to audiobooks. Oh my gosh, now everything is falling over. With that being said, I'm about 300 pages into the book now, which means I've got just about 100 pages left, and I just got to this part, which I believe is the last section of the book. It is called Relics, and I'm very excited to see where things go here. I feel like with this book, like I'm just kind of in the middle. Like I don't have very strong feelings towards it either way. Like I'm not entirely enamored and entirely in love with the story, but I'm also not hating it or disliking it in any way. It's just like, it's good, it's okay. I'm just very much in the middle. I think a lot of the story so far has been really focusing on Kat and Helene. We've gotten little glimpses and a little bit of a look into this cult and the people involved in it and some of the things that they do, some of the different rituals, and a little bit of a glimpse as to why they're doing these things. But primarily, we are following our two main characters as they are now very, very caught up within this cult and with the people and finding themselves in these terrifying, life-threatening situations. And that's been kind of fun, but a little bit different than what I was expecting. I am enjoying both of the characters, but I will say I think I like Helene more. I feel like she has a little bit more depth to her. Obviously, like with her brother's mysterious suicide question mark, but she also has a 6-year-old daughter at home, so that is one of her big motivators to keep her fighting and to really push her to get out of these situations that she finds herself in. Kat as well, but she definitely has like different things motivating her, but I just feel like she doesn't have like as much depth as Helene, even though I'm enjoying the both of them. This is also one of those stories, and I feel like this is a big thing with folk horror, but also just like small town horror in general, where this cult, this group of people, they have members all over this area. So that means like the cops. Some cops are also in on this and other figures of authority. And I feel like anytime there's a story like that, it's always so anxiety inducing for me because, you know, I mean, that's the point, is because these people are like escaping. You're like, oh my god, yeah, they're gonna do it. And then they're like, actually, this person was working for them the whole time. Dun dun dun. And I'm just like, I'm so nervous reading this, listening to it, whatever. Because it's one of those situations, but I am enjoying it. Like I said, we have gotten little glimpses into the cult and the reasonings for why they do what they do, but I do believe, just from what I've read in the last chapter, and going into this last section, I believe is going to be the part of the book where we really delve into this group and the different things that are happening within them. First of all, without giving too much away, it's folk horror, but it's also giving me like this feeling of cosmic horror, because at the center of this cult, of this group of red folks, there is this creature, this being. I'm not entirely sure just yet, so hopefully it goes into that in the last section, but it's something that they definitely worship, and a lot of what they're doing is revolving around this thing. So it kind of gives me this feeling of cosmic horror, because I know that's a big theme with cosmic horror. But I think we're gonna get a lot more of history and explanation and a lot more information in this last section, because there have been things that have alluded to the idea that this thing is ancient. It has a lot of history surrounding it. It has been around for a long time and possibly may be responsible for a lot of different things in the area, and the way that people live and the way that this town operates. So I'm very, very curious to see a lot of things be revealed here. That's all I've got to say about it for now. I'm going to go ahead and finish these last 100 or so pages, and then I will let you guys know my final thoughts. And I hope that this last section is really, really good. I hope it brings up my feelings towards it, because like I said, I'm still very in the middle right now, but we will see. Some time later, I have finished the book. Honestly, I don't have a lot to say about this. I think I'm gonna give it 3 stars. Once again, I was just very in the middle. Like, I didn't love this book, I didn't hate it, but I also feel like I am just in a spot where I can understand like everybody that's giving this 5 stars and really, really enjoys it. I get it. Those that are giving it lower ratings and disliking it for certain reasons, I can understand that as well. In my opinion, I don't think this is like up to par with the other books that I've read for this reading vlog, the other folk horror books that we've read, I've read. But I can also, while saying that, I can recognize that this is a different type of horror than the other books that I've read. Adam Neville is definitely one who writes a lot of graphic and gory things. There were a lot of very brutal killing scenes in here, which I do enjoy. So it's really just kind of up to you what type of horror you want if you're going to enjoy this one. One thing I will say about Adam Neville is that his writing is very, very descriptive, and I do enjoy that because I think it really helps to set the atmosphere and the setting of the story, and I feel like it helps you to create like paint a nice picture in your head of what's going on. So that is something that I will always appreciate about Adam Neville. But honestly, like, I don't really feel a lot towards this book. I don't think it's gonna be one that leaves a very long lasting impression on my brain. So I'm just gonna leave it there because I don't have anything to say. It's late, I'm going to bed, and then tomorrow I will be starting the last folk horror book for this reading vlog. Pardon my appearance. I'm about to go take a shower, but I started Pine today, and I just got to chapter 7, which is on page 94. Can I say, first of all, that this has been a very, very quick read. Like, it is flying by so quick, so easy. Easy breezy, beautiful cover girl. We love it. So far in the story, we have Lauren, who is 10 years old, and her father, Niall, and they live in Scotland, I think, in Highlands, which is a small village. And Lauren's mother died when she was a baby, so she never really knew her, but her father obviously has been struggling in that time since, being a single father and raising his daughter alone. He does turn to alcohol a little bit and really is just struggling with the grief over this loss and has a hard time talking about Lauren's mother to her. The book starts off like, it pulled me straight in. We start off on Halloween night. Lauren's trick-or-treating with her friends. When her and her dad are driving home, they see this woman in the road and they stop to help her out because she's clearly like very disheveled and very disoriented and not really speaking, and it's cold out, so clearly she needs some help. So they decide to take her home, try to get her warmed up, cleaned up, give her a place to sleep. She's still not really talking or saying anything to them. And then the next morning, she's gone. Lauren's father, Niall, doesn't get out of bed because he drank a lot the night before and he can't really remember anything. Lauren is really the only one seemingly that remembers this woman. And then later that day, Niall gets a call from a friend in the village, and she's freaked out because there's this woman in her garden that's not really like doing anything, just kind of standing there very creepily, very strangely, I guess. And she is kind of freaked out because this woman looks like Niall's dead wife. But it was very interesting because during this phone call, she says that, and then the woman starts like to walk away, and then the lady on the phone like immediately just kind of like forgets what she was even talking about and forgets that she even called Niall to begin with. So clearly there's something very strange going on there with whoever this woman, this figure, maybe it's a ghost, I don't know, but whoever this is clearly is having an effect on the people that see her if they're not remembering that they see her, except for Lauren, who's the only one that can remember ever seeing this woman or interacting with this woman. So it's been very, very interesting. Like, it's very, very intriguing so far, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. Lauren's mother also was someone who was kind of into more spiritual things, tarot readings, like crystals, herbs and different cleanses, and people used to call her a witch. So that type of vibe, which I really, really love as a girly who also likes to read tarot and play with crystals sometimes. So I'm enjoying that, and I think that's going to be a big part of the book, so I'm really, really looking forward to it. But the atmosphere has been great so far. Like, this village, very small town, like everybody knows each other. Lauren is kind of free to do what she wants during the day when she doesn't have school. She can walk to her friends, they go out and play in the woods, and they're kind of building this like fort in the woods, and it's just very, very like atmospheric so far, which I really like. I think this is going to really delve into that exploration of grief, not only with Niall but also with Lauren, especially the fact that she never really knew her mother, but she still has to deal with that loss and just coming to terms with the fact that she'll never know this woman, but also trying to feel connected to her in any way that she can. So I think it's going to be really, really interesting. I also do like Lauren as a character. Like, children in books, especially when there are main characters, are not always my favorite, but I really like Lauren, and I like the way she thinks about things and the way she sees the world. I think is really, really fascinating. So I'm really excited to keep reading this one, especially because it's a quick read. I think that'll just make it so much more fun to sit down and read. So after I shower, I'm gonna get some dinner and then I'm gonna keep reading. So I'll see you guys later. Hello. I don't have a real update. I'm just popping in to correct what I said in my last update. Lauren's mother did not die. She went missing when she was little, and nobody knows what happened. She just like left one day, and then nobody ever saw her again. So I just wanted to clarify that she's not technically dead. She's just kind of like assumed dead by everybody. Pardon my appearance, we were at the beach for a couple of hours earlier, so that's why I look like this. Also, the AC is on, so I do apologize if there's background noise, but I just finished the last book for this video, Pine by Francine Toon. I'm not going to talk about it for too long because, in my personal opinion, I don't think it fits into the folk horror subgenre. I have seen multiple people around the internet calling this folk horror, so I don't know. That's why I chose it for this video initially, but after reading it, like, I don't really feel like it had a lot of themes of that genre. I think this is more like a literary mystery thriller. First of all, I was enjoying reading this book. I was enjoying the atmosphere, I was enjoying the characters, but I did start to get a little bit worried when I realized I had just about 30 pages left in the book and there was so much left unanswered. So I was so scared about how it was going to wrap up. There is also, it is mentioned in the synopsis about a local teenager who goes missing. That doesn't happen until like 250 pages into the book. So less than 100 pages left and this plot point is just now being presented. So it was very, very slow moving. And I feel like in the ending, like, some things did get explained, but there are a lot of things that are left unanswered and a lot of different elements of this book that we never really get an explanation on. They're just kind of like left open at the end, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. I'm just really torn because I enjoyed the reading experience. Like, I liked the writing, I liked the atmosphere, I liked the characters and where the story was going, but I feel like there just wasn't enough to it in the end, and it just kind of leaves you very unsatisfied because there's a lot of things that, like I said, don't get answered. So I think I'd probably give it like 3 stars maybe. I just wish that there was a little bit more to it to make it a stronger story. And I wish that we got things answered because I'm like, what is the explanation for multiple different things that were presented in this book? Like, what was that all about? I don't understand. I don't think this really fits into the subgenre, but since I started it for this video, I figured I might as well come back and give you guys my final update. So that brings us to the end of this video. I feel like I learned a lot about folk horror. It is a subgenre that I previously knew that I liked, and I was really happy to be able to sit down and explore it a little bit more. We also watched The Wicker Man last night because, like, I've seen the movie, but it was a long time ago. I think I saw it when I was a kid, so I wanted to see it again as an adult and see, because I feel like it's very split opinions people have towards that movie, which was kind of fun. But I just was in a folk horror vibe, and I was like, let's watch The Wicker Man because that is one of the big kind of pioneers of the genre as far as movies, like one of the first ones to do it well and also gain a bunch of attention for it, if that makes any sense. So that was fun. But with all of that being said, that brings us to the end of this video. So thank you so much for watching. If you guys made it this far, I will let you guys know that the subgenre for September is gothic horror. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you guys next time.